guys, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to have a ban list discussion on what we think Konami might do. We're also going to discuss what would be interesting to see what they could do. So, the guests that I have with me is Diabolus and Grunt, both players that you guys know if you watch our online tournaments, and also for Grunt, Yugioh news you might have missed. You guys see these guys often. So, guys, thank you. I'm very excited that you're here for the discussion. And Diablos, I think you've actually done several ban list discussions with me now. Is that correct?
I have. I think I did maybe three.
Yes, yeah. And I really it's been interesting. Quite a bit of what you've predicted has been right on the money. So it's very interesting. Yeah, yeah. If you go back and watch the videos, you've had quite a few that you've definitely hit the right way. So let's go ahead and talk about what we think needs to be forbidden. I think that's the big thing that lots of people want to focus on first because they feel the cards are too oppressive. So I'm going to start with you, Diablos. Is there anything in this format that you think is ban worthy?
No, not really.
Yeah, I agree.
Not really, especially because I played in remote duels and stuff like that. Everything is really fair. I haven't been in anything big because really I don't really pay attention to high level stuff like that. But I don't know. I just feel like as a person playing the game, I feel like the game is actually pretty fair.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy to play. Now there are certain things going on that I think need to be addressed. Maybe Zeus, that could be addressed. That could be limited. But as far as ban, no, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I keep looking at the format and I keep thinking to myself, it looks great. It's a lot of back and forth. Yes, you do have your best decks, which I would definitely think, especially after the last remote invitational, would look like Trident, or not Trident, Zodiac Tri-Brigade, because that was everywhere in that tournament. I don't know if you guys watched that. But
I actually didn't.
Oh, you what? Say it again.
I actually didn't.
Okay.
I was in and out.
Yeah, that's how I was. But every time I was there, I was like, oh, here we go. We've got another match like that. So pretty interesting. So I think they might do something to the deck, but I don't think there's anything in that deck that I would just straight out ban. How about you, Grunt? Is there anything that you're thinking, yeah, we got to hit this?
There's nothing that I'm absolutely ban it. There are cards though that I could take either way if they limit or ban, so I'll just kind of lay those out now.
Okay.
I'm biased. I still think that if mine is oppressive enough to have the OCG literally say we don't want mine at this locals, I think that it mirrors over here. I feel like the sentiment should have the card to 1 just so it's not a deck centered around it. That's just me. And I've said that many times. Yeah, Mystic Mind. So it's I don't, and I get it. It's kind of fair, and at the same time, there are a lot of outs to it. We've had more outs, if anything, in the last few years. It's just, I don't know. I don't like mine.
Okay, and I get that. It is a hard card to deal with if you're not anticipating it. I think most people on their sides do plan for it. I know I do.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
Yeah. I'm always afraid it's going to be there, right, Diablos? That's me. I'm just thinking if there's a card that's going to kill me, it's going to be mine. So I have to be ready for it. So while I don't necessarily... Oh, I'm sorry. What were you going to say? Say that again.
Oh, no. I was just saying, side in the back row hate.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yes.
I say this every time. I say this every time when people ask me about this card at locals, and I'm like, look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't play that card. I'm just saying that if you take that to a local venue where you've got a nice diversity of players, both casual and competitive, you are going to get your car keyed and you're going to wonder who did it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's my opinion.
That's an interesting local you got there, Grunt. We don't do that at my local.
I get it, guys. I guess my point is, mine, if you're going to use it in competitive format, then fine. Mine is fair in a competitive format. I just feel like when it goes to smaller venues and stuff, you've got that one guy who brings mine, and when it's not as competitive, mine is just kind of a middle finger. But that's where I'll leave it.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I'm all
where it's
about unique builds. So I'm sure people would hate you or would hate me at your local because I play very differently on purpose because I want players to see different strategies for me and to keep them on their toes. Um, but yeah, but I
Yeah,
think it's actually okay because like Diabolus just said, you do have plenty of ways to out it, and they're cheap. I mean, Cosmic Cyclones run
yeah,
$1. You could have a solemn, not solemn strike. Trying to think with that one Imperial Order that negates all
yeah.
spells on the field. I mean, there's definite outs to this card, so it really doesn't bother me too much. So
I guess my argument to any naysayers is that I guess it's just everyone has cards they just really don't like personally. I know plenty of people who are like, we need to ban. There can be only one. And I'm like, but there can be only one is the exact same argument as mine, except it's technically not as oppressive.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's hit or miss. I guess my point is some people hate mine, some people hate there can be only one, or
uh
Imperial
huh,
Order. I've seen some people wanting that banned.
yeah,
So that's just it. And if we're talking about other things I'd want banned, I mean, it's not even for being broken. It's just to kind of help diversify the meta. I
mm-hmm.
want them to. I would not mind if they banned Halka-Fibrax in order to bring off all the tuners that have died in his name because
Okay, mm-hmm. That's
we
interesting. And as crazy as Helki is, I don't know. I don't see it breaking things too much. What's your opinion on that, Diablos?
For Hulk, I would say it's fine. Like Hulk, if you
Mm-hmm.
look at it, like Hulk is just an extender. It's an
Yes.
extender, and most extenders like Hulk are played in combo decks. So I feel like with in my experience with Christian Hulk, I feel like it's okay. Though, yeah, some tuners have to be held back, you know. But like,
yeah.
I do feel like Christian Hulk is not really that bad of a card. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
compared to what's
Well,
running around out there, Hulk
Yes.
is fine.
I
Yeah.
guess my argument and the way I see it is Hulk is an innocent card. It does not do anything wrong inherently, but there's a difference between running Hulk because it's a nice little extender versus I ran Hulk in Eldritch because I had an abusive combo with Jet Synchron. So my point is Hulk limits the future design of low-level tuners because if they have
Hmm.
any level of recursion, well, it's not even about the Jet Warrior Shadow Mew. It's literally Glow Up Bulb used to be a nice generic tuner that you could dump, and now it's gone because of Hulk. We've had to get rid of Steam the Cloak. I miss him in my Blackwing deck, obviously. I miss Jet Synchron to a degree, even. I guess I'm just saying I would rather they ban Hulk and bring us back the good generic tuners, because you guys want to complain about your tuners not being strong in your synchro decks. Hulk is the reason why, because it just kills accessibility. I guess that's just kind of my hot take is that I don't like cards that limit stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
we
and
can't make a tuner like
that
that.
is interesting. Future forward thinking. Does that limit what they want to do with tuners? That is a very interesting argument. But based on where I'm at right now with looking at the meta, I would definitely agree with Diablos. I think it's an okay card, especially if you've got hand traps that are cheap like Effect Veiler. You one Effect Veiler and you shut down his effect. And so I think there's legitimate ways to handle the card that honestly work okay. So that's just my own thinking. I know, gentlemen, I'm sure you've seen this on a lot of people's videos that they're calling for Anaconda here to be banned, or that they're wanting Red Eyes Dark Dragoon to be banned. And I am shocked by this.
Mm.
First of all, is Dragoon an awesome card? Absolutely. It can't be targeted. It's got a great effect to it where it can cause negation. It can also just get rid of cards to burn them for damage, and then he attacks for game, as Shadow Mew did to me in our series. Okay, but anyway, so it's a great, great card. But at the same time, every time I've ran into it, I honestly feel like I have an out to it with my current decks. What is your thinking on that, Diablos? Are you seeing the same thing when you play against this card?
Okay. With Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, I can see why people would want either him or Verte banned. I do agree with. Hmm. Then again, like there are many ways to out him. It's almost like Hulk in a way. Like there are many ways to out the dude. Like
Yeah.
me personally, I use Kaiju's.
Yes.
Kaiju's just out
Yes.
the dude. and and I mean, me personally, I feel like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I can see why people want it banned because it's very oppressive.
Yeah, it is.
It shuts down a lot. Like especially when you're just trying to play.
Yeah.
It just shuts down a lot. But Red Eyes Dark Dragoon wouldn't be what it is if Verte didn't exist. Because Verte does let you bypass, the restriction of Red Eyes Fusion, which lets you bring it out. So Verte, I would say if either one would be banned, I would definitely go for Verte. So that way people can't just like cheese them out. Like, it encourages more thinking in the game instead of just use two monsters, special summon a monster you can't deal with.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I feel like Verte should get the ban, but I understand why they won't ban Verte. It's because like of the Destiny Hero stuff.
Yeah.
The new guy that's coming. So I feel like they would like probably ban Red Eyes Fusion before either of them. So
yeah.
So that way the Red Eyes and Dark Magician players.
Oh.
And
hang on, I lost you there, Diablo. Guys, we're back. Our discussion of Dragoon literally crashed the stream. So I'm convinced that it doesn't want to get banned. Okay, so third time's a charm here, hopefully. So Diablos, again, why should Red Eyes Fusion be the hit over Predaplant Anaconda or Dragoon?
Red Eyes Fusion, if you hit that, basically, it's so that Konami can still sell these two. And appease both sides of the argument pretty much. Because if you hit Red Eyes Fusion is the main reason why Verte is the main reason why you can bypass Red Eyes Fusion.
Right.
It's the reason why you can bring it out. So, but the Dark Magician players, they want the Dragoons to play. They still want Dark Magician to be playable. Especially with the new Magician support coming out that I think Shadow Mew was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we talked about that, Grunt. Yeah, in our Yu-Gi-Oh! News you might have missed that there's a way to bring this guy out. Yeah. Keep going.
Exactly. So with Red Eyes Fusion out of the picture, it stops the competitive people from using it. It's pretty much so that the Dark Magician players can still have their OP card, but it's more for Dark Magician now.
Yeah.
You can't just, bring it out whenever you want by just using two monsters.
And I think that's a nice compromise. I think that's the way to go. Grunt, your thoughts?
Yeah, we were talking about this while you were kind of fixing things up, and we have the exact same idea here. Don't kill Dragoon, don't kill the poor snake, just kill the card that makes it broken, the Red Eyes Fusion. No one's running it seriously outside of the Dragoon, so,
Exactly.
Keep Dragoon around for the Dark Magician players out there. Throw them more than just new support, let them use this card that people have been hating on for the last year.
Yeah, that's a great point, guys. Great point. Other than that, I really didn't think that any of these other cards were worthy of ban discussion. Are there thoughts that you have, Grunt, for others that need to be banned?
So this isn't even about saying, oh, they're gonna ban this. This is just kind of my personal opinion. And again, Diabolus and I were talking about this. I think eventually they finally need to hit Tracer or Quick Launch, just because honestly their effects are just incredibly generic and usable. I mean, Dragon Link has proven that. Quick Launch is literally an E-Telly for dragons that's not on once per turn, so it is what it is. I don't think they're going to hit it. Diabolus doesn't think they're going to hit it because of the new Rocket stuff and Burst of Destiny, as underwhelming as a good chunk of it is. But, I'm just saying, I'm tired of seeing D-Link. Get a new deck, people.
So
They're
wait,
pretty
so
good.
let's go back to what you were saying about Alistair. So why do you think that they could end up banning that?
Alistair Invoker. Oh, because of
Uh-huh.
the Brave tokens. The Brave token stuff. Uh, so one of their cards, that I'm pretty sure Grunt can talk about this more better than me because this is my first time beating them. But the right of whatever that is, I can't even. I'm not even going to. But that they have a spell card that can that can send stuff to the grave and
Yes.
not be cost. So that can mix well with Shadol's. Like I feel like they would hit Alistair just to like maybe not on this list, maybe on the next list when this stuff is coming out because this archetype makes Alistair irrelevant because you can't use him anyway.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I feel like they might hit Alistair maybe not on this list, but sometime in the future because solely just to sell this stuff.
Yeah. I could see that. That makes sense to me. Now, Grunt, you were saying that there could be some interaction with the Shadal stuff, is what you were thinking as well?
Yes, Diabolus brought it up, and he is right because Journey of Destiny does technically not send for cost. You have to send as you add, so it's not like I send for cost and then add. So, long story short, if you send Shadal monsters with this effect with Journey of Destiny, you are able to proc their effects on top of getting access to Griffin Rider and stuff. So
Wow. Wow. That's interesting, guys. Do you think that would be a preemptive situation then where they would go ahead and maybe hit some of these cards like Alistair and the Shadal stuff just to avoid that
they're
becoming
not they're not
top tier?
they're not good. They're not going to hit Alistair because Rite of Aramesia, like what we were trying to say about Alistair is Rite of Aramesia says you cannot activate the effects of monsters on the field that were unless they were special summoned. So essentially, or like you can only activate monster effects on the field or monster effects for monsters that were special summoned. The point is, Alistair does not activate on normal summons, so we were saying it kind of makes Alistair pointless and stall if you're going to run this instead.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Makes sense. Grunt, I know you play Prank Kids.
Yes,
So
I
if I think there's going to be a hit, because I honestly feel it's a super fair deck, like you and I were talking about. I feel it's one of the most fair decks out there, honestly, that's actually topping right now. I'm glad it's getting some time in the spotlight. But if I were to hit a card, I think it would be the Link 2. Doo Doo Doodle Doo. Uh, or Dodo Doodle Doo. That's the one I would hit just because if you're worried about like some back row hate, like a solemn strike, you'd really have to think if you'd want to play that at that exact moment. Do you think that would be the hit that they would do? And if not, what do you think they would hit instead?
I mean, it depends on who you ask. I don't think anybody out there right now, for example, runs only one Doodle Doo, but I do know some people who run only two. Some people do run the full three. So
Mm-hmm.
I can understand hitting it to one would kind of hurt. I know some people are suggesting hit the cat, like hit Meow Muse
Yeah.
at one,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, no, because that's a form of recovery for them, and if they end on the cat, then if you're so good, kill them. It's only a 1,000
Yeah,
attacker,
it's not very high. Mm-hmm. I agree.
so that's what it comes down to, at least for me, with the cat and people saying hit the cat, because the cat is the only deck is able to function as well as it does. You'd want to kill their consistency pieces, so they could hit Doodle Doo. I think the deck is fine where it is. If people really want them to hit Brain Kids right now of all things, then sure, but I don't think it's really broken enough yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think there, Diablos? Do you think Prank Kids is even going to get any kind of hit?
No, why? I mean, they're not. I know they're like topping events, but like, there's nothing wrong with them.
I love the way you put that. That's fantastic. Why?
Like, what could what are they complaining about?
I have never beaten anybody with Prank Kids and had anybody tell me that the deck is unfair.
Yeah, that's a great
Exactly.
point.
They work like the Prank Kids make you kind of in a way they kind of make you really work hard for the win condition, and it is well earned.
Yes,
From
it is.
you know
Mm-hmm.
you know it doesn't feel bad to lose to prank kids if you do, but like I don't see why people are complaining about what's wrong with the deck.
Yeah,
Like
I
what is
agree.
it?
I think it's a fair deck that honestly shouldn't be hit. I know it's making some waves in the meta, but I think it's fine right where it's at. Speaking of making waves in the meta, though, um, I know that you're a big Tri Brigade player, Diabolus. I know you had an Ancient Warriors build with them. What do you think's going to get limited? Because I think something's going to get limited. What do you think it's
Okay,
probably going to be?
my thoughts, if they were to hit the deck, the three cards they need to keep, really look at is Fractal, Revolt, and even Tanky to an extent.
Yes.
Uh huh.
Me personally, I hope that because if I had to choose between Tanky or Fractal, I would rather them hit Fractal
Yeah, I would too.
because because Tanky, I use that in Ancient Warrior. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
I use
Yeah.
that. There's some bias there, but I use that in Ancient Warriors, and I was playing them pure before I even introduced the Tri Brigade stuff into it. And I feel like if you're trying to hit Tri Brigade on their own without hitting the other Beast Warrior stuff like Fire Fist, Ancient Warriors and all that stuff, then you gotta limit either Fractal or Revolt
Yeah.
because those are the two cards that really,
Yeah.
they're the win condition. If you have Fractal in hand, for the most part, you're good.
Yeah.
If you have Revolt in hand, for the most part, you're good. If you have
Absolutely.
Fractal and Revolt in hand, you're just good.
Yes. And the deck is so consistent. I mean, it's super
very.
consistent. I ended up trying the deck out for myself. I talked with Casey. I ended up making my own kind of build a little bit. That was a combination of him and Obelisk Blues. And I just couldn't believe just how what I really think is oppressive the most is Revolt. And the reason I say
Yeah.
that, you can search it and then you lay it, and then if they don't have a way to blow up your back row hate, you're waiting for that right moment to play Revolt. You special summon everything back. You get the banish off the link 4. So me personally, I think Revolt would go. I could also see Fractal. I could see both, but for me, I would choose Revolt over any of them. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Leave Tenki alone. There's too many low tier decks that need that card. It helps with their consistency. Don't hurt that card. Grunt, your thoughts?
So there are two routes they can go with this, and I'm not saying which one is better. I just think that one of them is, right. The point is, I'm under the same impression where they should either hit Fractal or they should hit Tanky, and I understand, hey, don't hit Tanky. I guess the thing to keep in mind is Rhoda's at 1, Fossil Dig should be, but they hit other stuff instead. The point
Mm-hmm.
is that I could see them putting Tenki to 1. Do I think they need to? No. But I feel like Tri Brigade players, there are going to be some who are going to be upset that they hit Fractal to 1. It's like, well, you're reprinting the 10s. And that's the thing. They're not going to hit Fractal if they're,
Oh, gonna do
going
a
to reprint
reprint.
it.
Yeah,
And
that's a
Yeah.
great point.
so
I agree with that.
Tenki, so if they're going to hit anything, they would hit Tenki. Or if we're going to talk about, tinfoil hats here, it they could honestly, in my opinion, they could just hit Shreg to 1. I don't think they should. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
they will. But if you have one less Shreg, because I know that people run 2 of him
Yeah,
because
usually
you
2.
Yeah.
summon
Yeah.
1, then you go with 1 on Revolt. So that way, at least you're limiting the amount of play. Same thing with the whole. And the other thing I wanted to bring up for Tri Brigade Zoo is Zeus, because I think Zeus could be hit to 1 just
I agree with that.
because
Yeah.
it's kind of the same argument people were trying to make for VFD and VW, where it's like, yeah, sure, 1 is bad, but 2 is where it gets annoying because it's literally that moment in Naruto with Madara where it's like, oh, you dealt with the first Zeus, what are you gonna do with the second one?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's literally what it is. I don't hate Zeus. I just kind of understand why people don't like how I'm making multiple self-destruct buttons.
Yeah. You bring up a great point. I think it's too easy to make boss cards nowadays. I know I came into the scene late. I came in around 2014, 15. And it's just interesting to me. I remember how much work it took for players to get out their difficult cards. That's not the case with these boss monsters we have now. I mean, literally, Zeus gets out with one Zodiac card. And then even the same thing here with like a card like Access Code Talker. It's so easy to get out these boss cards. And I do think something needs to happen with some of them, just because I think it improves the game state that much more. Speaking of Access Code Talker, do we think, guys, that this could be banned? And is
Nope.
it fair?
No.
Oh,
The
that
access
okay.
code?
So,
Fair.
so tell me why you say that.
Because access code is what Borrowsword used to be. It's just a game ender. They didn't limit
It
Borrowsword.
is. Yes, it is. I agree with that. And this card, it ends pretty quickly. Like if I don't have some interaction to stop it, it's over. It's a huge game ender.
I say this. I say this
Borrowsword
whenever
was the
someone.
same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was gonna say this is how it is with every game ender. It's like people are like, "Oh, I hate this card. It ends games all the time," and I'm like, Konami. It's literally with Konami. It's like there's always a bigger fish because they'll make access code, which went over Borrowsword. People still play Borrowsword, but
Yeah.
people play access code more. And
Yeah,
I'm
because
telling
it's
you,
better. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's gonna only take at most 2 years, and that's being generous, before there's gonna be some other big end game that people opt for over access code, and then it's gonna be let's ban so and so card, and then it's rinse and repeat. We keep getting different game enders, and it's just a matter of how the game works. If it's a generically good game ender, that's what happens. So
Yeah.
they're not going to ban access code. And again, as we've made the point of, those tins are coming out. They are not
Yeah.
going to ban this guy right before his grand reprint that has been
Yes. Yeah, that's a
year in
great
the
point
making.
because they do want the money. They do. Now, speaking of big cards, so let's go to the Drytron cards because if Tri Brigade leaves its prominent spot, if Zodiac Tri Brigade leaves, I feel that's a perfect opportunity then for Drytron to fit into that next slot. So if they're going to properly limit the cards in this deck, and I've got Gamma here, I've got Alpha up, I've got Herald of Ultimateness, and then I've got Eva. Grunt, which one do you think they need to hit the most?
Okay, so to people out there who are saying hit the Drytron monsters, no, the Drytron monsters are the enablers. I get it, but they're literally in their own archetype, doing their archetypal thing. Take that for what you will. Herald, if they don't ban Herald, and this isn't even, here's the thing, Herald of Ultimateness, cool. Herald of Perfection will just be used as a substitute. If they remove it, there are already some people who are substituting it. So if you're suggesting Konami are going to ban both Herald rituals, and it's possible, do I think it's going to happen? No. And Diabolus has his own opinions on Eva, and I could see Eva being more likely in a ban, but I also still don't see Konami doing it yet because, again, Drytron hasn't been, in my opinion, running the meta with Eva. Now, I understand Eva will be a problem in the future, likely as time goes on, but
that's interesting. So when I think about Eva, that's actually the card I'm worried about my opponent resolving the most.
Yeah.
Because I know it's coming. Is that how you seem to look at it too, Diabolos?
Okay, the way I look at it, if they're going to hit anything on the Drytron deck, Ava is the card to hit. And it's solely because, why was Ben 10 banned? She was banned because she could get, like, fuel for ultimates.
Yeah.
Ava does the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you even try to stop Ava, well, they got Herald of Orange Light in hand.
Yeah.
And then they get follow-up on top of that, which is the new Herald card.
Yes.
Divine of Herald.
Yeah.
So, to me, Ava gets them too much. It's almost like they don't really have to, like, do anything for it.
Yeah.
It gets them too much.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's too much. It gives them too many resources back. And then it leads to it's very difficult then to out this ritual monster once you get the Eva going. I mean, it's very, very difficult. I mean, I had 3 ways I tried to push through the Herald of Ultimateness, and it didn't happen. Unless I have a kaiju, that thing's stopping me.
Exactly. Like you would need a kaiju. You would need a kaiju and or a Dark Ruler no more.
Yes,
To deal with that.
yes. And if I don't have those, I'm not outing this card. It's very difficult to push through, especially if you're playing control, if this card's on the field. I mean, it is a nightmare to deal with. So me personally, I would go ahead and have the Eva take a hit.
Yeah.
I think I would put it to 1. What would you guys think? Should we put it to 1, or should it be on the semi-limited list?
You're going to ban it because a lot of Drytron decks get away with just running 1.
They do. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, they've been playing multiples.
Yes.
Actually.
Right.
They're
More
not
recently,
playing
it's been multiples. Yes.
But even with 1, you still get the same thing because at the end of the day, Eva's a hard once per turn. That Herald only needs to pitch 1 Eva to get the effective proc to ruin your game. I guess my point is with how searchable Eva is, they'd have to ban it. You can't just put it to 1. Drytron decks have been getting away with at least 1, and you don't need 2 or 3. You can use 2 or 3.
And so
I feel like they're gonna put it to 1. If they do address it, it's gonna be at 1.
Yeah, I think that would be probably the best hit would be to put it to 1. Not outright ban it, because that's going to ruin the deck for a lot of the Drytron players who are trying to play.
Yep.
I only play 1, so if they want to put it to 1, feel free. That doesn't affect my deck.
1 I think would still be okay, and I could see them either taking Alpha to 1 or Gamma to 1. I don't think they're going to do both. I think it could be one or the other just because of the interaction between the two, if they're trying to preemptively keep the deck in check from ruling the meta the way Zodiac Tri-Brigade has. But that's just my own thinking. Grunt, if they were going to hit one of these first, do you think it'd be Gamma, or do you think they'd hit Alpha to 1?
They would probably hit Alpha, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to hit Alpha or Gamma because there's really no like, here's the thing. They're doing what they're supposed to do within their archetype. Yes. I understand it's like, oh, look at me, I'm Alpha. You know, I can add a ritual monster from deck to hand, and, you know, same thing all the Drytrons do. He locks you in. I don't think they're broken. I understand why people would disagree with me. I know there are some people who will take to their grave that Drytron is the worst deck ever to face. Yeah. But my point is, it's the same argument as Tri-Brigade. There are so many ways to hit Drytron without directly hitting them that Konami will probably avoid directly hitting Drytron. Some people say hit Nova, and I'm like, there is no way Konami is going to hit Nova.
Yeah. They need that in the deck. Yeah, exactly. That would be very tough to deal with.
Here's how it works, guys. There's crippling a deck, and then there's taking a chainsaw to their legs.
Yes.
You don't need to ruin the entire deck to, nerf it.
Well, and that's what I felt like they did years ago with Altergeist. When they hit Multi-Faker to 1, I thought, oh, what are you guys doing? You know, it's so, I mean... And then eventually it was banned, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
No.
Okay, so it was just hit to 1. Okay. But I just remember thinking, man, that's the main starter of the deck. I mean, you really got to have that if you're going to have the kind of success you're typically looking for. So I agree with that. Don't take a chainsaw to the deck. Just make sure you cripple it just barely enough to where it's still going to be fun and playable. I think that's a really great point. Another issue or another card I wanted to talk about that I actually was surprised was on it last time. What do you guys think about Zodiac Trident coming back to 1? I'll go ahead and let you talk about that, Diabolus. Do you think it could come back?
No.
Why not?
Because like they're just too much. They already have Zeus. Are we trying to give them more? Like, they already have Zeus. They can already, play 3 Zeus. Maybe that's why Dryden was hit, because they was using her more than Zeus. And then on top of that, Dryden forced certain interactions, and it was just not fun.
Okay,
It
okay.
was not fun to play against that. Like
That
they already got Zeus. Let them have
that's
Zeus.
interesting. So I do agree with you that they have Zeus, but if I like Zeus going second. You know me, I'm a go second guy. Because I
Same.
like to kaiju my opponent and then do all my stuff. Um, but if the only like if you're going first and you make Zeus, it's just not as good, I don't feel. So I always like to have always thought it was nice to have Dryden there just in case. But yes, I do agree that if they're trying to limit the deck, why would we have this come back? But again, if you're going first, I don't know. I think it's a nice little way to help the deck a bit. Grunt, do you think
Problem
it's gonna stay off, or do you think there's a chance it could come back?
problem is that Dryden served a dual purpose because not only did banning it get rid of that quick play, it also meant their Zeuses were going to have one less
Oh
material. So
yeah,
now
that's a
you're
good
not.
point. Mm-hmm.
So now, because let's be honest here, nothing is more frustrating than when you got 6 mat Zeused and you had to stand through 3 potential board wipes.
Yeah.
All the while, it had protection. The point is, that's just kind of the issue. As long as Zeus exists, and as long as Zeus, is as powerful as it is, I don't see Dryden coming back. If Zodiac players really want a bone thrown to them, Konami can, in good faith, give them back their barrages because, well, technically the barrage hit was only when Dryden was brought back,
Mm-hmm.
so they
Was like,
could.
yeah, it was top tier. Yeah.
So I think it's fair to bring back Barrage to 3, just because they put Barrage to 1 when they brought Dryden back to 1. So now that Dryden's banned again, put it back to 3, and it'll probably still see some good fundamental use, but it's not going to be as busted as it would have been with Trident.
Okay. Um, Diablos, what cards do you think could come off the ban list? Coming back to one,
Actually,
possibly.
Grunt and I was talking about this, but Heavy Metaphor is Electromite. Should definitely
Yes.
come back to 1. Uh,
Yes.
I I say so because Konami's coming out with a lot of pendulum decks like Soul for Chord and Heavy
Uh-huh.
Metaphor stuff and stuff like that, and people are not playing them because they feel like they can't experiment with pendulum because Heavy Metaphor is still on the list. That
Yeah.
was such a crucial card for them. Like by leaving that card on the list, you're halting any experimentation for pendulum.
Yes. Yes.
Basically,
And
you can't really like do anything.
I think you bring up such a great point here. We've had so many cards that are pendulum monsters on this list of being just outright banned or they're limited to one, but I don't see anyone doing anything with these cards. So for example, you've got
Skull Cravat
Performable
Joker.
Skull Cravat Joker, and it's stuck at 1. Let's put it back at 3 and see what happens. I mean, in order for it to gain its effect, it's got to be normal summoned. And then there's interaction with lots of players where if you normal, you can't special. There's ways to stop that momentum if you want. And then you've got some of these other pendulum cards like Monkey Board and Corinne. And I just feel like, man, let's put them back at least at 1, and then maybe give some of these other ones back to 3, like same thing with Double Iris Magician. I think that should be unlimited. But if we're going to get that proper experimentation, you have to give us the best link monster that helps foster that, which is without a doubt Electromite. So I'm right there with you. Grunt, your thoughts there?
Right. No, I was saying Monkey Board and Plushfire were banned as quickly as they were for a very good reason. They'll need erratas before they can come off the list.
Ooh, that's interesting. Now, why do you say that?
Well, Plushfire, if I remember, was just very recurable. I mean, that was the idea for it, but it was very recurable, and I believe it wasn't loopable, but there were a lot of ways to abuse it for, like, let me see this real quick. If a
Huh.
card on the field, you can switch someone from your hand. Oh, that's right. It just Plushfire essentially allowed you to cycle through some of your other perform ages, which included what was it? Damage Juggler or Hat Tricker or I think Flame Eater. Essentially, Perform Mages were very gimpy. That's the best way to put it. And Monkey Board is
Oh, Monkey Board's incredible. Its search ability is wonderful. Yeah.
Monkey Board is an example of when Konami made a card too good for its own good, because it literally lets you add a level 4 lower pound monster from your hand to your deck, so you complete your scales, and it's very good.
Well, it is good, but I wonder if it's been power crept, honestly, guys. I mean, let's look at the effect. So unless you have a Performapal card in your other Pendulum Zone, this card's scale becomes 4. During your main phase, if this card was activated this turn, add 1 level 4 or lower Performapal monster from your deck to your hand, which I know what I added every single time when I used this card. I was always adding Joker. That's the first one that I went for every single time. So they would interact really well with each other. I don't know if it's that broken anymore. What do you think, Diabolus?
I mean, it's worth experimenting with.
Mm-hmm.
I get to see how it does, especially with a lot of these fast decks now. But we'll never know unless Konami opens the gate for experimentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way you put that is perfect. Open the gates for us. Let's try it and see if it actually works or not. Yeah, I would love to see that. I know you guys, when you sent me your list, you guys had, since we're on Pendulum, that you had talked about Double Iris Magician. Do you guys both agree that let's put it at 3?
It's pretty like, I'm just saying this right now. The one thing that I know for certain is that Double Iris is going to 3, just because it literally went from 1 to 2, doing nothing. Whenever a card goes from 1 to 2 and does nothing, Konami puts it to 3 immediately after.
Yeah.
That's what happens with anything that goes to semi-limited. So it's going to be a 3. There's no arguing that.
Okay. All right. What other cards, Grunt, would you say could maybe come off the list?
Let me see real quick what I have in my notes here. So it depends on what I think Konami's gonna do versus what they are gonna do. The thing that I could see them peeling off for sure is Phantom Skyblaster. I say that because it is still abusable for link fodder, but it requires you to normal summon it, and I don't know. Token generation is cool.
Yeah, it's
and all.
pretty
I understand
tough. Yeah.
but I feel like Phantom Skyblaster is, it's dated enough. I could see them bringing it back to 2 to experiment, then bring it back to 3, because I don't know what's running it these days. Mirage Stalio.
Yeah.
I'm just naming things that could go to 3. It wouldn't matter. Mirage Stalio, they don't really care. Skulkerback could go up. It didn't do anything.
Yeah.
If they banned Wind Up Hunter, Wind Up Carrier Zenmaity can come back. We've said this for years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of the Wind Up fans would be excited about that. I know that has a very special place for people that played that era. They really like the Wind Up cards. Now, me personally, that was past my time. I never got a chance to experiment with it. Did either of you guys play the Wind Up deck?
I played against it. I played against it, and I hated it because Wind Up Rabbit was obnoxious. Wind Up all the Wind Up stuff when the new support for it was Zen Mains, and then eventually Zenmaity came out, was annoying. So I don't hate Zenmaity personally. It's just that Wind Up Hunter was already a scarily consistent way to hand loop your opponent and just kind of ruin the game for them. And I'm pretty sure people could achieve very similar results today, if not better, depending on what they can apply generically. So ban Wind Up Hunter, bring out Zenmaity, and people will be happy because no one plays Hunter without Zenmaity.
Okay, no, that makes sense to me. Absolutely, makes a lot of sense to me. There was a card that I was thinking about, and it's the jars. We've got Morphing Jar at 1, and it's doing not a whole lot. I barely ever run into somebody playing it. I would really like to see what would happen if they brought Cyberjar and Fiberjar back to one. I don't even know if it would make that big of a splash. What do you
It
think
would.
there, Diablos?
I feel like it would.
Oh, you do?
Because
Okay. Where do you think it would be
Fiberjar,
played? What kind of decks would we see?
Fiberjar is the one that resets the hands, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Fiberjar is literally a reset button. It's not coming back.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Oh,
no.
why not? It's fun to watch it resolve.
That'll make games last forever.
Ooh, see, I'm right up there with that. I love that. Give me that all day. I love it when games last forever. It's super fun.
Here's the thing. You could, and I'm not even supporting this. I'm just saying the Cyberjar never coming back. Same reason as self-destruct button. It's a card that just makes games not play the way Konami intended them, so it's just not. You could technically make a better argument for Cyberjar, but the fact that you get to either add or summon all 5 cards, it's kind of nuts. I understand it gives your opponent the same liberty, but
yeah.
it's just one of those crazy cards from years upon years ago that didn't think of how crazy things would be in 2021.
Well, but it's so slow. I mean, it has to be a flip monster, right? You've got to flip it in order for the effect to work. And
right, or your opponent attacks into it.
Or if they attack into it, right. But the odds of someone just attacking in, I would feel, are very low with all the removal that we have in the game today. Diablos, I know you tinker, if I'm not mistaken, with some flip effect type monsters, and I think you do too, Grunt. So if this did come back, what kind of decks would we see them played in if we had Cyberjar and Fiberjar?
It'll probably be played in the same empty jar decks because they do have ways to flip up the one morphing jar. So they can flip up the one morphing jar over and over again.
Yeah.
While it's at one, they can consistently flip over the fiber jar and just keep resetting the game when they feel like it. So,
gosh.
Yeah, I feel like that should just stay there.
Could you imagine how crazy it would get, guys? Oh my gosh. But think you'd be drawing more than likely into your hand traps and all kinds of other things. So I don't know. I just think it'd be fun to have some experimentation with it just to see if it does anything. But yeah, pretty good discussion, guys. Absolutely. Grunt, any other decks you could think of that it would go into if they brought it back?
I mean, anything that's slow enough. I mean, I could see some random players literally just thinking, well, I'm running Shaddolls or Crawl or something else that already has flip effects. Maybe I'll throw it in this in here as a joke. Cyberjar is one of those cards where I can't tell you where it would go because I know it's never coming off the list. Like, I understand it's fun, but Konami will probably rather make a retrain for this or something because this is like, you read everything this card does and it's like, this would not be designed now. This wouldn't have been designed 5 years ago, 10 years ago. This is very early 2000s.
It was. Yeah, I think this came out in, I want to say, the second or third set. I mean, it's old. Yeah.
So that proves the point. Cyberjar is cool. It's a nice, relic, but it's never coming back. Same with Fiberjar. Nobody wants a reset button in the game to annoy your opponent when you burn them and then you make them reset their hand for time.
Oh, that makes sense too. Yeah, because there's definitely players that would do that. More than likely, that'd be me. So I don't know what else to say. Okay. What are some other cards that you're thinking of, Diablos, that you're like, okay, let's bring this to one?
To one. Okay. So to one, definitely. Me and Grunt was actually talking about this too. Definitely Harp Horror. I don't know if we talked about it yet.
No, we have not. Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
I feel like Harp Horror I feel like it might come back solely because Gearsu's getting a reprint. And they would want to hype him up as much as they can.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yep, because we know they're very money driven. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like they would bring Harp Horror for that reason. and I feel like hardcore was banned because Sky Striker Orcus was a thing, but Engage is
Yes.
at 1. They can't really abuse Engage if it's at 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like hardcore can come back.
Well,
You know,
and I know the players have been calling for it to come back now for, gosh, I want to say 3 or 4 ban lists. I feel like I have talked about this. I know Fusion Yugioh, shout outs to Patrick. He talks about this every time he brings up his ban list. He really wants to see this card come back. He's a heavy Orcus player. And I like how he says it is restrictive because once you special summon this guy, you're locked into dark monsters at that point. So there are restrictions to it, that if there's other cards they've allowed to come back for that deck, why not allow this one to come back? Grunt, what do you think could hold it back from not coming back?
It's if Konami's afraid of Orcus doing shenanigans again. I don't think one Harp Horror would make the whole deck super tier 0 again. But what do I know? Konami is really careful with what they unban these days because they don't want another instance of Snatch Steal where they have to suddenly ban something again because of, a bad call.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense because I feel all the cards that we've talked about so far, like they're legitimately good conversations to have, that there's possibilities for them. Minus what you guys are saying with the cyber jars, I can tell you definitely both don't like that idea. But yeah, I think that Harpor could definitely be one that should definitely come back.
also like on the topic of Harpcore, Harpcore, like, it doesn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wouldn't do anything because the main reason why people are playing Sky Striker Orcus is because you can abuse Engage.
Yeah.
But Engage is at 1.
Yep.
And the Phantom Knights don't really do much anyways. They're hanging out with Burning Abyss.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing oppressive about this anymore.
Not to mention that Nightmare Mermaid is banned, and I'm not saying bring back Nightmare Mermaid.
Yeah,
Nightmare
that's a
Mermaid
great point. Yeah. Great discussion, guys. Diablos, did you have some other cards you were thinking could come to 1? Or should go to 1,
probably
either way.
Probably not 1, but maybe 2. The True Draco stuff.
Yes.
Dynamite, he could come to 2, maybe even 3, because
yes.
True Dracos aren't doing anything. Also, I feel like, now this may be a stretch, but I feel like Dragonic Diagram can come back to 2.
Ooh,
because,
that's interesting.
Dinos have been checked.
They have been.
Mist is gone. So, can we get that back, please?
Oh, I would go nuts if they bring this back to 2. Seriously. With the terraforming, you've got basically 3. So I would be very excited for the consistency.
Especially with Flunderies around the corner, they stop special summon, so they need something that can go up against them.
Yeah, go into that a little bit. That, for everyone listening, that's a really great point. Go and explain that a little bit more.
Like Flunderies, they don't like special summons at all. They like normal summons. And a lot of the decks nowadays, they special summon.
Yes.
So I feel like they should bring back Dracos to be like a rogue rival to that deck. Or maybe even possibly work with them. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. I think both points are fantastic there because they're going to need to have something that can combat it, that doesn't rely on special summoning as hard. True Draco does that. They're all about just summoning the regular way, basically, or using their spells and traps. So yeah, I would love to see that kind of experimentation with that Flunderies deck right around the corner. Grunt, do you think that True Draco could make a good comeback here, possibly?
Yeah, it depends who you ask. I could say to this, Dynamite Knight, if with how everything is currently, he can come back to 3 and nothing would happen. Diagram, and I say this is someone who would play True Draco. I love the deck.
Me too.
My apprehension with Diagram coming back to more than 1 is, as much as dinos are in check, I can only imagine the average dino player frothing at the mouth at the thought of having an easy chance to search out Lithosagem and killing 3 cards in the extra deck while procking 2 baby Cerosaurus. And it's like, I'm not saying it'll happen, I'm just saying it'll happen. If there's 2 Dragonic Diagram plus a terraforming, and yeah, no, they'll just find a way to fill in a Dragonic Diagram engine. I hate to say that. I hate dinosaurs for, ruining this, but
Yeah, but I would be very excited if they at least tried it because I don't know the semi-limited list. It needs something to spice it up. I mean, I really do like that they have malicious on there. Yeah, I think that's the perfect card to be in a semi-limited list. But let us
mhm.
experiment, as you keep saying, Diablos. Let's open those flood or open the doors for us to try new type of strategies.
Oh, and before somebody asks, I don't think they should do this. I'm not saying they won't do it because, let's be honest, after they peeled Engage off the list, I think anything at this point is fair game, as if
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't already shown. Eh, I'm not saying they should do it, but if they decide to bring back Masterpiece, good
Oh
on them.
gosh.
I don't think they will, but
They probably won't.
they've
No,
done dumber
I can't
things. So
imagine Masterpiece coming back. And
Masterpiece would totally crap over the meta.
oh gosh, Masterpiece is scary to even think about. Especially in a Flunderies deck. You know, that they spam the field. And then you've also I don't know if they use continuous spells and traps or not, but you
I
Nah,
you
think they have a
combine that
few.
with True
they have a
Draco.
few, but it's not like their
Oh,
deck is dedicated to it.
that could be a nightmare situation. And I know it's already really expensive because I've tried picking it up. My good buddy Milo back in the day, he advised me if you want to get these banned cards, do it when they're banned, because that's when they're usually cheaper. This guy's around $20.
Well, it was horrible timing because in um
Maximum
he got printed in
Crisis.
Maximum
Mm-hmm.
Crisis, which was a May-June set, and before the Megatins. Now, so those of you who are newer, Megatins actually used to cover every single core set from a run except for the one in late summer. So like
Yeah,
February sets were used to be fair games. So funnily enough, Zodiac stuff was reprinted the same year it was originally printed. So,
yeah.
long story short, um, Masterpiece didn't get a reprint in that tin, obviously, because it wasn't Maximum Crisis' turn. By the time they reprinted Maximum Crisis, Masterpiece was banned, so he never got a reprint.
Yeah, yeah. Which
Which not a lot of cards can boast
yeah,
that
and it
for.
really stinks because as a budget guy, because you guys know me, that's my bread and butter, budget. I need a reprint. It's I'm not going to spend $20 for a card typically,
I'm
unless I
gonna say this
really love the
now.
deck. It's
If
all.
if they unban Masterpiece, for example, I would honestly expect them to reprint him in Brothers of Legend or the Maximum Gold set or
Oh
whatever. But
yeah,
I
that'd
don't.
be neat. Maximum
But,
gold. I'd like that. That would be kind
but
of cool.
I don't think they'll peel him off. But again, I've been ordered to expect whatever at this point because no one thought Engage would come off last
Yeah.
list.
Oh, I was shocked when Engage came off. I thought to myself, how did this happen with how crazy Sky Striker was? And it's seen quite a bit of play already, Sky Striker builds. But because of the way the meta is right now, it really hasn't had that same success level. So it was a good call from Konami. I don't think it's been that bad so far. Grunt, if I'm not mistaken, you wanted to talk about the Dragon Ruler cards. What do you think about those coming off this time to one?
So the only one I could see them bringing back is Blaster, and the only reason why I say Blaster is because we're getting a lot of good water support in future support, and there's already good water decks out there. I'm not gonna pretend that Mermails are total garbage. I know they're not meta or even seeing use in the road. The point is, water and earth, so Redox and Tidal are kind of off limits. But outside of Salamangreats and, a handful of decks with mixed attributes, fire is really not that strong of an attribute. So if they wanted an excuse to bring back one Dragon Lord, they could totally do it with Blaster. Tempest,
Okay.
honestly, is already seeing decent use. So I don't know. Just
Okay.
a random thought.
What do you think there, Diablos? Do you think that could work out?
As far as realistically, yes, I would say Blaster
Mm-hmm.
is definitely the one to bring back. But if Konami was trying to sell like a water archetype or any maybe like the Jade Knights that are coming out soon because they're all water,
Yeah.
then they would probably bring back title.
Okay. Okay, I could
Other
see
than
it.
that, I'd see the one I could see realistically coming back if they were to pick one is Blaster. The rest are kind of off limits. I agree with them, but if they're trying to sell like when you confront the bandits, you got to think about what Konami's trying to sell.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So like they got the Jade stuff coming out. That's a water based archetype. They got the new water stuff that's been wrecking the OCG coming out.
Yeah.
I could see them taking this off the list to sell that stuff here, but I don't know. I agree with Grunt. Blaster is the one to come back.
Yeah. And
If they
I
were to
agree
bring
with
one
you
back.
both. If they're going to bring one back for experimentation, it's going to be Blaster. I think lots of players would rejoice if it was Tidal, just because, like you guys have already mentioned, there's so much water support out there, but they don't want it to be too overwhelming. Because I think the water decks I know, once they start comboing, it's really hard to shut them down. So yeah, I could see Blaster definitely being the way they're going to go if they're going to do that. Um, Diablos, were there some other cards you were thinking that you wanted to discuss?
Probably a few.
Okay.
One that I think might come off the ban list, or I would not be surprised if it did come off the ban list, is Denglong, the first of the Yangzing.
Oh.
Because with the soul swords coming out, they're worms, they're synchro based, Denglong just fits right in. You know, I would not be surprised if Konami brought this off the list to try to sell that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Because people are already hyped on soul swords. They already want it. So
Yeah.
why not intensify the hype by bringing back Denlong right before Burst of Destiny comes out?
Yeah, that's interesting. I could see that. Absolutely. Other cards you're thinking?
Um, Real quick as I'm going down the ban list. First I'm gonna say Call by the Grave to 2. Like
Oh, yes.
if we're not gonna get crossout designated, which is why I initially thought Call by the Grave took the axe. Like if we're not gonna get crossout designated, then can you give us Call by the Grave back? That would greatly be appreciated.
Absolutely.
Let me see what else.
I know I've got Called by the Grave on here. I can't find it.
Up there between Macrocosmos and Skill Train.
Thank you. I'm literally looking at that going, I know I put this on here because I wanted to talk about it. Grunt, I agree completely with Diabolus there. Would you also say this needs to come back to 2?
I would not mind it being back at 2 or 3. I understand some people are like, oh, but it's not just shutting down hand traps, but it is what it is. If anything, if they put this at 3, I could see more people shutting up about Drytron or Prank Kids.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it stops a lot of what they're trying to do. Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see them bringing it back. Do they need to? No, but if they aren't, then they better bring us Crossout Designator, or it's just going to look kind of stupid. I don't know why they're taking so long.
All right, Grunt, Diablos, what else were you thinking there?
Striker Dragon back to 2, because they got Rocket support coming out, and I kind of like Rockets as a deck.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard for the deck itself to function with one Striker
Dragon.
Like, I understand Dragon Link uses it and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. I heard it already. But Striker Dragon, that card is basically Baylings for Rockets.
Yeah.
It's essentially Baylings for Rockets.
Yes.
So if you're trying to sell the new Rocket support, especially if it has Bull and Dragon in it, I don't know if it does or doesn't, but if it does, you might want to put this back to like 2 or 3.
Yes, I agree with that completely. I hate it when a card has to pay just because it doesn't fit that, or it helps that original archetype, but it helps another one way more. And like you're saying, this is what gets the deck going. So yes, I would love to see that happen. I just don't know if they'll do it. I would like to see them do it, but cool. Say that again.
I said it would be cool if they did.
It would.
It'd be cool.
Yeah. And it'd be a nod to the fans if they did. That's what I would like to see too. Grunt, how about you? What are some other cards you wanted to discuss?
it. I think one thing that we didn't agree on was I was thinking about Ben 10 coming back from 1, but Diabolus made it very clear he's against that, and I get why.
I
get that
missed
Ben
these
10
conversations. I wish I would have heard them earlier.
I guess that I get it. Ben 10 is the evil of the deck, but at the same time, she's running wild and at 3 in the OCG, and Drytron is not. Now I understand it's a different meta in the OCG.
It is different meta, yeah.
But I guess my point is, I feel like even with 2 or 3 Ben 10, it would still be fair. It would be annoying, and turns would take longer, but it's not, in my opinion, an unfair deck if it's so easy to side against that it's barely getting any, first place tops.
Well, the reason I like the hit at 1 to stay is because I think it does hurt that consistency just a bit, and that's just enough to keep the deck in check. Diablos, what is your thinking on that?
Cyber Angel Benton was basically banned for what Eva's doing.
Yes.
Which is getting more advantage to Fuel Herald Ultimate. And it forces you to play certain cards. Well, not play certain cards, but have to open certain cards for you to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Ruler No More or a Kaiju. You have to open either one of those to deal with that, or else the Drytron player is gonna get infinite negates.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I think Benton should, just stay at 1, because, just one of you is enough to get them into a lot of things.
Absolutely. So, absolutely.
Yeah, you can stay at 1 just for a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm on the same thinking with that. Some other cards you were thinking of, Grunt?
This is a controversial one, I know, but I think Colossus can come back to 1.
Oh, I knew we were going to bring this up. Okay, all right, go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, look, I get it, okay? Someone summons a giant purple lizard against you, and now you can't play with your, drawing. You can't, you can draw, but you can't search, and it's hard to get rid of it. But, I mean, I just feel like we have so many other big threats in the meta right now that it's not too hard to get rid of. You can kaiju it, pretty sure you can banish it. It's really not something that's impossible to get over, especially with things like Tri Brigade that have ready access to banishing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And some of them, like Fractal, it's like you're not searching, you're pitching. So I understand it might kill some plays here or there, but I don't know. I feel like Colossus is fine at 1. I wouldn't bring it back to more than 1. I understand it's abusable, it's easy to summon, but
very easy to summon. Yes, extremely easy.
I mean, it's people think of it this way. People are like, hey, they're bringing back Eternal format because they brought back Sky Striker Engage. Here's the thing: Sky Striker got a ton of first places, and poor Thunder Dragons as a deck. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That deck never.
That is interesting that you bring that up. That is very interesting. Yes, there were times where, I don't know. It would depend on who I was playing, because there were some Thunder Dragon decks that, man, no matter how hard I tried to push through, I just could not get over that Colossus if I didn't have a Kaiju in the hand. But then again, I don't think we have Dark Ruler No More back then, guys?
No.
We got Dark Ruler No More in the Megatons where they reprinted Colossus. So we didn't have Dark Ruler No More until Colossus was already reprinted. It's like a year into it.
Yeah.
Printing. So I guess my idea here is, so all the people out there who are saying Colossus is awful, I mean, to me, Colossus for you is just like mine for me.
Oh, okay.
Because mine has answers, Colossus has answers. I don't really see, like, I understand it cuts off your searching.
Yeah, and that hurts a lot.
Yes, I understand it hurts a lot, but it's like, think of what we've gotten since Colossus has come out. We have a lot more things that can get around it.
Yeah.
Again, if we're gonna draw straws here, Tri Brigade Shrag is literally a non-targeting banish that can easily banish this, and that's not including cards like Dingirsu that
Yeah.
can get over this.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. It's oppressive, but at the same time, if you're gonna complain about why some things shouldn't be banned that are floodgates, I still think this should be back at 1, just because it's not inherently unfair. At 2 or 3, yes, because
Yeah.
I can literally summon 2 or 3 easily if
Oh,
I can
yes.
summon 1.
Yeah.
But
It's very
again,
common for people to get 2 out on the field on me in the first turn. Yes, very common.
it's just it's a good card. I understand it may sound broken, but I think that a lot of decks are getting around now without having to search. You can place things now from your deck. I mean, some decks are starting to do that. I just feel like we're reaching an impasse where Colossus can be brought back to 1. And Thunder Dragon, do you really think Thunder Dragon is going to do so much better because of Colossus? They're still weak to Nibiru, too.
I mean,
okay, go ahead and talk about that, Diabolus.
If you want to go off, you go off, my friend. I want to hear your opinion then, because I don't see Colossus breaking Thunder Dragon.
Okay, now the reason why I think Colossus can stay where it is because Colossus is basically draw and lock, but it's a draw and lock bird that can that the deck can recur back and forth.
Yeah.
Like they can recur it back and forth. Now I understand that Engage can be recurred back and forth, but Sky Strikers have to go through a lot to do it. Thunder Dragon don't have to go through a lot to do it. And plus on top of that, it's a draw and lock bird that can protect itself. Draw and lock bird can't protect itself. So theoretically, no, I'm not going to say theoretically, but it's really hard to deal with, and it's almost like the Herald of Ultimatus. You need to have certain things to deal with it because there's not going to be a lot to deal with. Now, you said that Tri-Brigade can easily out it, but can they really? Because their main line focuses on sending things to the graveyard, but those things that go to the graveyard search them into things.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, that's really good.
If we want to bring up another point, I mean, Zeus can remove it pretty easily. I mean, if we're drawing straws, I guess my point is that we're getting to the point where there are more and more answers to the card, and I understand why they banned it at first. Like, I don't know. I feel like they could bring it back to 1, and it will not be any more oppressive than it would have been beforehand. Again, this is a deck that did not get a lot of first place tops. It topped a lot, but it never really won much. So I don't
think the entire thing.
Yeah, Colossus is going to ruin the meta.
So that's so interesting. So you bring up a great point, and this might be just my personal bias, because you said this is basically my Mystic Mine, and I think you're right, because I had a hard time facing this deck when this deck was out. If they had 2 of these on the field, I was in trouble. I could get past 1, but if there were 2 on the field, it was very difficult for me to combat it. And like you said, there are more answers now. But I just remember being really frustrated trying to win against this deck because I remember thinking, dang it, I can't find a way past this, and I keep just losing over and over again to it. So I don't know. I'm in the camp that Diabolus is in. I want it to stay right where it's at.
Here's the operative thing. The operative thing is that you mentioned it yourself. Getting over 1 is doable.
Yes.
Not 2. I would say it is fine at 1. It will never come above 1. But I feel like if Konami puts it to 1, again, it'll see use. I'm sure someone's gonna find something to do with it. I just don't think it's like, oh my god, Colossus is in every deck now. Please shoot me. It's Abyss Dweller 2.0. It's.
But see, okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I do. That is a great way to think about it. Colossus is my Mystic Mine, but Mystic Mine doesn't put itself back into the deck.
Yes.
Mystic Mine is not recurable. They would have to draw into Mystic Mine or open a terraforming or something.
Yeah.
It's not recurable. Mystic Mine doesn't have support that can put it back in the extra deck, and Mystic Mine doesn't have all that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it should stay there, because it's recurable. All they need is 1 to do what they want to do.
Yeah, such great points. and it's painfully all coming back to me, Diablos, on why I hated this card. I mean, I just because what you're saying is so true. Because this is when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh pretty competitively. Matthew was training to go to the Nationals, and this deck was one of the decks I knew he was going to run into. So we were grinding it hard, trying to learn the matchup, making sure we had a way past it. Because his deck was only $50. The Colossus at the time was 70. So I mean, it was a huge gap in terms of what he had to get past. And I just remember grinding this match with him, being like, "Oh my gosh." I mean, they just keep finding a way to bring this thing out on me, and once you've done your initial push, it's very difficult if you don't have a lot of resources in the hand to make another push. So again, that's why for me, I want it to stay right where it's at. So guys in the chat, you can let us know what you're thinking. Should we keep it this way or not? I think this is a hot button issue for sure.
Also, when you think about it, we have a lot more broken stuff that can abuse it. Like we have the chaos stuff, chaos space.
Oh yeah.
The chaos
Oh
dragons, the dragon
gosh.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and plus on top of that, they were ending on Colossus with disruption. So if you try to do anything to the Colossus, oh, okay, negate.
Yep.
And then next turn they could just OTK you. So like, no, Colossus can stay there. It's almost like you can't do nothing but wait for them to OTK you.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly how I felt in all these matches. It's like, okay, do I hit surrender or do I let them do the OTK? I mean, it's just that's how I felt every time. Oh, that is too funny. I'm convinced, Diablos, you and I have an extremely similar way that we've viewed this game and have experienced it.
Then again, I'm not like other people. I don't spend too much on the game.
Yeah,
I just
me
spend
too.
money on what I need.
Yeah.
And I play lower end decks because one, nobody sees them coming. So they'll have to sit there reading my stuff, but I know what all their stuff is. Like
Yes.
I know the niche interactions, how to do things. That's why I was comfortable playing like Tri-Brigade with Ancient Warriors because I knew Ancient Warriors.
Yeah.
I knew what they can do, what they want to do, and stuff. I feel like using lower end decks in a way is a skill.
Oh, I think so too. I like the challenge. It makes me feel really accomplished when I can take like a $30 deck and beat a deck that's $150 or more. I love that feeling. Yeah, I totally get that. Great stuff though.
Another card that can possibly come back to 2. I would be glad if it did. Red Reboot.
Oh, I thought about putting that in. That was one of the cards I actually was thinking about putting in when I was looking at cards to put into our discussion. Now, why do you think that could come back? Because it was definitely something I was considering myself.
Because that card single-handedly deals with a lot of the cards in the meta. Like the Tri-Brigade. If you pretty much red reboot their revolt, they just sit there.
Yep.
With Ultra guys, you red reboot them, they're stuck for a turn, then you just OTK them.
Yes.
When your turn comes around.
Yeah.
Like it answers a lot of things.
Completely agree. Grunt, your thinking on red reboot.
The issue with Red Reboot is that it's very good at stopping traps and allowing you to continue your turn. I guess the issue that comes is that it is too good at what it does, and sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh, one turn is all you need, and that's especially true if you're playing a highly competitive deck where you would run Red Reboot. So that's the biggest argument I've seen, is that it's just not really healthy for decks that rely on traps. And I get the idea, it stops traps, but it's essentially activating a Dark Rule or no more for traps, and that can really kill a lot of decks, and it's just not in the spirit. I don't know. I don't mind Red Reboot, but at the same time, I kind of get why it's at 1.
Yeah, great points, guys. I would like to see it maybe come to semi-limited, just to see what it might do. And that might be, like you were saying, the answer to, like, for example, Revolt. If you can stop that, that's very effective at messing up what they're trying to do with their combo. So yeah, pretty interesting. Very interesting for sure, guys. Grunt, what were some other cards you were thinking of?
So, one that I haven't mentioned at all yet tonight, and something that I was thinking of. So, let's be real here. We all know that the rocket stuff can go and suck a railroad spike, as it were, because the real excitement from Burst of Destiny is the new Destiny Hero stuff.
Oh yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and so the inner the inner theorist in me is like, oh gee, I wonder what they're gonna do. Are they gonna peel something off the list to hype it up? And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is Mally. I'm like, nope, nope, nope. They're not gonna do Mally because they literally designed this new Destiny Hero card to essentially function as a third Mally.
Uh-huh.
So malicious, no. I think
Yeah.
though that they there could be an argument for bringing a Hero Lives to 2 or 3 instead of
Oh,
being at
wow,
1.
that's interesting. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and expand on that a bit.
So, and it depends on what people's stances are on this. I'm not a hero player, so I feel like I have less of a biased opinion on this. So Hero Lives, pay half your life points while you control no monsters, special summon a hero from your deck, and, you know, you would summon Shadow Mist or Stratos and get your search. Right now it's only at 1, and of course when it was at 3, it was a good way to compensate for Stratos being banned and increasing your consistency, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's been at 1 for a good amount of time now since
Mm-hmm.
we've gotten new and
Yeah,
new and
quite a long
improved
time
hero
at this
support.
point. Yeah.
And if they really want to milk the hero hype, I mean, they could bring it back to 2 or 3, and will it make the deck better? Heck yeah. Will
Oh
it make
yeah.
it broken? I don't know. It's hard to say because it's special from the deck, so you can get ashed after paying half your life points,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then that's your funeral. So it's risk and reward. So I guess what I'm just trying to think through is, will Konami do it? Possibly, but I don't think it breaks the deck regardless.
Yeah. What are your thoughts there, Diablos? Do you think we could see that come back at 2 or 3?
I mean, they could. It wouldn't. I don't think it would do anything. Yeah, I mean, they could. They give a boost to heroes, but I
Yeah.
don't see anything wrong with it coming back.
See, and that's what I like is where we can look at a card and be like, yeah, it's going to boost that deck, but with the way the cards are in the meta, it's really not going to be maybe as impactful as it once was when we didn't have ways to really interact with our opponent to stop this kind of card from going off. And like you said, Grunt, man, that's a hefty bet, half your life points, and then it doesn't even work. That's very difficult, especially if you're going to go into something like an Anaconda. Then at some point, now you're down to 2,000 life points. I mean, that is a
Yeah.
dangerous game there. That's like original Yugi season danger. Like
Well,
that's
and the
really
other
low.
well, the other side of the coin too is, say you're at game 3 and you're running low on time. The last thing you want to do is activate a card where you're paying half your life points and go into
Yes.
time before you can deal it to your opponent. So it's not. That's probably the dumbest reason to give this reason, but
No, no,
I guess
no.
I'm just thinking out
It
loud
makes
here.
sense
It's
to me, Grunt. No, I think what you're saying there is really good. A card that I was curious what you guys thought about. What do we think about Raigeki going to 2? It's been at 1 for quite a long time. There's so much protection for so many cards nowadays if they're destroyed. What do we think about it coming back to 2? What do you think, Diablos?
I think it can stay at 1 because it's not a hard once per turn.
Ooh,
And
good
though
point.
Lightning Storm does essentially the same thing, it's only for attack position monsters. Raigeki gets rid of them all regardless. They
Yeah.
don't care if you're in attack, defense, face down at your mom's house. Like, they don't care.
I
They'll, like Raigeki just doesn't care. It's basically an easy board fight. And then OTK your opponent.
love the way you put
And
that. At your mom's house too.
but like I feel like Raigeki is okay at 1. They don't need to. It's like Monster Reborn. You can stay there. You can
I
stay
get
there,
that.
because you
I
don't
get
need more.
that. Grunt, what do you think?
I kind of agree with Diabolus here. To be fair, though, my take on it is Raigeki is one of those cards where if they brought it to 2, one of two things would happen because Honestly, a lot of decks these days aren't even running
Yeah,
Raigeki.
they don't even run it. Yeah.
To me, I do.
Well, that's the thing. And then it becomes the question of if we put Raigeki to 2, are you gonna run 2 of a card you currently run nothing of?
Yeah.
So
Go in second, yeah.
Yes.
It'll be an easy side deck staple.
Right. Yes, and I'll finish on that note. The fact though is that because they have cards like Lightning Storm that were literally designed to kind of exist as a re-release or kind of a honorary errata, it's like, I don't think they'll bring Raigeki back because they're gonna probably try to sell more Lightning Storms and.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're going to definitely keep their core set. I almost feel like when we name this, we're going to need to name it Banlist Prediction and Wishlist. Because I think we've covered quite a bit of that as we've been looking at this. I also thought, what do we think about Gazelle going back to 2? That was one that I'd really like to see them try.
He was talking about that one too. If we were to, me as a Salamangreat player, I'm going to be very biased. I'd be happy with either or. Gazelle to 2, Circle to 2.
Oh,
I don't care.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That's the ultimate dream combo there. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
But as a Salamangreat player, I can see why Gazelle needs to stay at 1 because that's a lot. Gazelle gets you a lot. So I feel like if they were to bring one back, it would be Circle because Circle protects your reincarnated link monsters from stuff like Nibiru.
Yeah.
It's not just a searcher.
And I didn't think about that. That's true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that at all, that it's unaffected by other monster effects. So you could do your special summoning, and then when they bring out the primal being, it's not going to affect you. Whoa, that is really good. I never thought about that tech with the card.
Yeah, and I feel like they bring back Circle first because Salamangreats, I mean, they're still a good rogue deck, but
yes, they
Nibiru hurts them really hard.
Yes, oh yeah, absolutely it does.
They can play through all the other things, but Nibiru, that's one thing they can't come back from.
Right, and it's because it's so combo heavy,
Exactly.
And this would help that with its consistency of, oh, you brought out your primal being, that's fine. I have a way to protect myself now. So yeah, I think that would be a great addition, as if we could get that to 2. Like you, I've experimented with Salamangreat. I think it's a great control deck. And I know how much you enjoy that pace. I think both of you gentlemen like those types of paces where you can be slow at times. This would be fantastic once you get your board set up. Grunt, what do you think? If we're going to get any, do you think it's going to be Circle like Diabolus said, or do you think there's a chance we could get both?
Because I absolutely hate this deck, but I agree. I would rather get Circle back to 3 and then have Gazelle at 1 because I'll be 100% honest with you here. Circle searches, fine, and it does the protection as well, but the idea is, hey, it can be ashed, it fizzles. Gazelle, you negate it, and I'm pretty sure it just stays in that hand and acts like nothing happened. And you probably have to wait another turn for it to proc, but point is, Gazelle is such an annoying effect, and it partners up so well with cards like Spinny, and I know how good Gazelle is, and I'll be honest, I'd probably put together Salad if they, for whatever reason, brought Gazelle back, but I don't like playing the deck because it's boring. I don't like facing it.
Oh, that's interesting. I think it's very technical. That's very interesting.
It's very low key big brain.
Yes. Yeah.
It is, but I don't know. It's not for me. I'm used to other types of decks. But...
Hey, and I get that too. I do. Trust me. Because there's some decks I look at, I'm like, yeah, I don't know how someone's having fun with that. And then there's other people who look at what I'm doing and they say the exact same thing to me. They're like, how are you having fun with that? It's so, that's what's great about this card game. There's so many unique strategies. I love it. Any other cards, gentlemen, that we have not discussed that you wanted to bring up?
I'm gonna borrow your list a little bit and go through and see, because I think that was it for me.
Okay.
I think I have like one or two more things on
Okay,
my
that's
list.
fine.
Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Grunt, what were the other two cards you wanted to discuss?
Actually, it's three, but I'll go over the first two. So, I don't think we discussed it, but Block Dragon. We were talking. Diabolus and I were talking about this.
Yes, I put this
They've
on the list for myself because this was one I was hoping would come up. Go ahead and share what you're thinking.
Well, and Diabolus made his opinion very clear, and I get it. Block Dragon is one heck of a card.
Yeah.
It may, there's jokes about how it's like, hey, look, it's the Lego Dragon Ruler, but it's the point is it makes decks like Adamantipator much better, and I get
Yes.
why people don't like that, but at the same time, Adamantipator could use hype. This could hype it up in the Megatins if they have some nice, high
Absolutely.
rarity reprints. So
Yep.
I don't know. It's been a year since Black Dragon was banned. I think we're getting to the point now where Adamantipator is already falling behind.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
it would be cool to have one Black Dragon back, see what they do, and if it's busted, cool. But I'm pretty sure we're at the point now where one Black Dragon does not make the deck, tier 0. So,
Yes.
and then,
Yeah, well, and I want to jump on what you're saying there.
go for it.
I'm in the same camp with you on this too. So, Adamantipator, I love the deck. I actually went ahead and spent the money to actually have some of the expensive cards for that one. Just because I didn't have researchers. I talked with Casey. He advised picking them up, and so I did, which I've never paid $20 for a card outside of Electromite when I thought my son was going to the Nationals. Because I usually stay under like usually $10 for a card.
Mm-hmm.
But I went ahead and I picked it up, and with Block Dragon, that deck was great. It was very powerful, very effective, and I just don't feel that it has that same zing to it, and I feel like it's almost put it too much in check because I just don't see anybody playing it anymore. But Diablos, based on what I heard from Grunt there, it seemed like you're on the opposite end of let's keep it off or keep it banned. Why would you be thinking that?
Because it gets into a lot of things. I
Oh,
mean, if it's sent from field to graveyard in any way, well, not seeds material, but synchro material, whatever, which is most likely how you're going to be using it
yeah,
as link material,
yeah,
it gets you 3 cards.
yeah, and
Like,
that
it
is
gets you a
pretty
lot.
frustrating. Yeah, that's a good point. It is a lot of card advantage. Yep.
Though I can see why people would want this back because the way they would often send it to grave was through Union Carrier, and
Yes.
Union Carrier is banned.
Yeah.
But there's I don't know, there's too many rock searchers. Well, not too many, but like Grand Eye Loyalists, I don't know. Maybe Blood Dragon could come back, but I'd rather. I don't know. I guess that's my mystic mind. That could stay
there. That's too funny. It did have a little bit of time to shine, which I liked for it because it was an older card at first. And then it was nice to see it, especially with the Megalith Ritual deck. It was neat to see how well it did with that deck. That here you got this common deck basically, and because of Block Dragon, it ended up almost topping. So it was pretty amazing to see that. So I would be okay if they brought it back at 1 for experimentation. I'd be right there with you, Grunt. What's another card you were thinking of?
Phantom Sky Blaster. This is something I could see Konami legit peeling off because, yes, it's generic link extension. No, it is not triggered on special summon, so it's not exactly abusable. It does have some usage. I won't deny that, but I think we're at the point now where there are so many other generic ways to, extend.
Yeah.
That Phantom Sky Blaster, like, it's not that he's aged poorly. It's just that, things happen, and I think he's been power crept enough that if they wanted to bring him back to 2 or 3, no one's even playing him at 1 when there are plenty of ways to search him, so I'm sure that someone could abuse him, but I also am pretty sure he's not going to get, much else
Out of control.
done.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it
He
makes
won't go out of
sense.
control. And I think the last card, and this is just something personal, I wouldn't mind them peeling. And I'm probably gonna get some eye rolls here. Brilliant Fusion.
Oh, I had that too. That's too funny. Okay, yeah. So, look, go ahead and talk about that. Why would you like to see that back?
So I'll be honest. I years ago I played Light Sworns when Brilliant Fusion was legal,
Uh-huh.
and it was fun. And I
Yeah.
understand people are like generic normal summon editions. That's pretty busted, and I get it. I get it. Shadal's like it. Any deck likes it. It's an
Yeah.
extra normal summon that gives you an extra. I can send a Strict Clown for extension, and I get it. It's nuts. And do I think they're gonna bring it back? No. Would I like them to at some point? Yes. I just, we're getting Gem Knight reprints in that set, so who knows?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe because there's reprints, they might do that for a little bit. And my experience with Brilliant Fusion was a very positive one. I used it in my ABC Dragon Buster deck, and boy, was that a great starter for me every single time. Because it ended up with me having a board where it was very common for me to have ABC Dragon Buster and then typically some kind of negation. So I had two forms of interruption, which I really liked. However, and this gets back down to the Colossus here, there were times where it got broken in certain decks. So I could see why they ended up banning it to begin with. Diabolus, is it too powerful to bring back?
I guess to answer that question, we have to look at what the decks are doing. Like, let's look at some of the top decks. What would an extra normal summon do for Char Brigade?
Oh,
A
gosh.
heck of a lot. What would an extra normal summon do for Prank Kids?
Yeah.
A heck of a lot. What would an extra normal summon do for Dried? Well, no, they don't really normal summon.
Yeah, they special like crazy. Yeah.
But imagine an extra normal summon for Herald.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. I agree with that. Yeah, it's a great point. Really good point.
And I guess Brilliant Fusion is going through what Red Eyes Fusion is going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is being abused by everyone solely because they can get out, or they can get either a big boss monster or extra advantage, basically because it's being used in the way it's not supposed to be used.
Yeah.
By decks that are not supposed to use it.
Yeah, that's a great point, because when this card was designed, I think it was for mostly Gem Knight cards. Like that was the big purpose. And we've gone well past that at this point. So I think that's a really, really great point. So like Grunt, I'd like to see it come back to one, but I don't think it will. It's just too good, especially for the decks both of you brought up.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so really, really great discussion. So guys, that's going to do it for our ban list discussion plus wish list discussion. We hope that you enjoyed this. And gentlemen, I really want to thank you for going especially through the crazy hiccups that I had tonight with my technology. Thank you guys so much for staying up late to record this with me.
No problem. Absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. Honestly, I've just been looking online in the meantime to see if anyone's leaking the new Megatons yet.
Well, again, I always enjoy our discussions, and I always appreciate it. So, and for all of you watching, thank you for sticking with us, as I think we had to restart like 4 or 5 times. So thank you. But that's going to do it for us, guys, and hopefully we'll see you here tomorrow for our online tournament, which I am super, super excited about. Thank you guys so much for checking out our ban list discussion / want list that we hope Konami will do. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. We always appreciate that. Also, we'd love to have you guys be subscribers to the channel. Hey, thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Wait for your next challenge. I know that you'll be back.